Alright, Chapter 7, Operating the Machine. Control level. The Caution 230 LCR with a single hearing protection is required for the ground personnel within 8 feet of the TC-230 LCR vehicle with a high idle. The operatives required for the wear of the single hearing with the protection with the operating with the vehicle while the cab doors and door open. The 230 LCRD, the operators required to wear a single hearing with the protection with the performing the drill and operation with the cab window of the door open. The ground personnel required to wear a single hearing protection within 98 feet of the drill bit with a double hearing protection within 10 feet of the drill bit. The single hearing protection is required for the ground personnel within 8 feet of the 230 LCRD vehicle at high idle. With both engines operating, a single hearing protection is required within 12 feet of the vehicle at the high idle. Caution never placed at any part of the body beyond the window frame of the cross to the boom with the control lever. The axle will bump, otherwise engage. If the window is missing or the broken, replace immediately. Prevent the possible injury with unexpected machine movement to make sure you know where the location and function of each of the control before operating. Never place any part of the body beyond the window frame. Replace the missing and the broken windows immediately. The machine is factory equipped with the control panel, control pattern shown. Important. Prevent the possible machine damage of digging and avoiding the contacting tracks boom of the cylinder as the bucket dividing digging over end of the tracks. The proper motive should be at the rear of the minimize the chain and sprocket wear maximum machine stability of lifting capacity. Alright, with the control panel and the functions corresponding with the black on white labels are located on the control console. Do not contact with the boom cylinders bucket with the digging over the end of the track propel motors and be at the rear of the machine. When left with the release of the return of the neutral, the machine will be remain in position. It shows A and B and D and C in a rotation. H and G in the bucket and E and F. Alright, A stands for the arm out, B stands for the arm in. C stands for the swing left, D stands for the swing right. E stands for the boom down, F stands for the boom up. G stands for the bucket load. H stands for the bucket dump. Control lever pattern with the conversion. With the changing of the machine pilot with the control lever from the center point with the jam gear pattern with the lower bucket to the ground. Turn the idle switch off. The running engine with the engine RPM down to 1/3 position without load for 2 minutes. Move the engine RPM down to the slow idle position. Turn the key switch to the opposite. Stop engine. Remove the key from the switch. Move the pilot control shut off lever to the lock position. Caution high pressure release of the oil with the pressurized system with the cause severe burns, penalty injury. Hydraulic tank is pressurized. Do not move the vent plug with the release of the pressure. Loosen the vent plug. Loosen the vent plug to relieve the air pressure. Open the door of the storage compartment behind the cab. Remove the cover above the flow regulator valve. Do not use the manufacturer line tag of the marking on the end of the identify the conversion of the procedure. The conversion must be done on the front side of the cab side with the flow regulator valve. Alright, A. Switch hose A with hose C. Switch hose B with hose D. Cause to prevent injury, unexpected control level of the function. Install the new decals on the control console. Install the new decals in black on the yellow of the control of the console near the base control level of the decals. In case of the operator manual package, additional decals can be purchased by John Deere dealer. Alright, A is a hose, and B is a hose, and C is a hose, and D is a hose. A, C, and B, D. Alright, control lever of the John Deere pattern with the caution. Avoid such with the crushing and injury for the boom with the never plate for any part of the body beyond the window of the frame. It can be crushed by the boom with the control lever that actually bump the otherwise engage in the window of the missing with the broken and replace immediately. Prevent possible injury with the unexpected machine movement to make sure that the dome of the location of the function of the swinging each of the control before operating. Never place any part of the body beyond the window of the frame. Replace the missing and the broken windows immediately. A conversion kit was available from the John Deere dealer to change the control for the pattern shown. Prevent possible machine damage with the digging of the void with the contacting track for the boom cylinder of the bucket. We're digging over the end of the track. The propel motor should be at the rear, minimize chain and sprocket at the rear of the maximum machine stability of lifting capacity. Alright, with the control pattern function with the corresponding with the black and yellow labels located on the control console, do not contact the tracks with the boom cylinder or the bucket when digging over the end of the track. Propel the motor should be in the rear of the machine. When the lever is released, it will return to neutral. The machine will then remain in position. Alright, Alright, A is your boom down, B is your boom up. Okay? C is your swing left, D is your swing right, E is your arm out, F is your arm in, G is your bucket load, H is your bucket dump. Pilot control shut-off lever. Pilot control shut-off lever shuts off the hydraulic pilot with the pressure of all the pilot control valves. The pilot control shut-off lever is locked in position. The machine will not move and lever the pedal. They accidentally move all the pull pilot control shut-off lever located in the position will stop the engine and leave the operator's station. Your auto idle switch. The auto idle circuit automatically reduces the engine speed after 4 seconds with the control lever to produce in the neutral position. Press the switch A with the circuit out of the caution. The turn auto idle switch it off. The automatic acceleration for the engine speed is not desired when stopping the engine. Always check the auto idle switch before operating the engine control. Any control levers when on the engine speed, lower level the auto idle speed, regardless of the opposition engine speed. Control lever the approximately 4 seconds after the control levers and return to the neutral by operating the control lever the engine speed increase the engine RPM dial setting. Or starting the engine with the auto idle on. When the key switch is turned on, the buzzer will sound briefly. The engine will run at an engine RPM dial setting with the 4 seconds after turning the key switch on. The auto idle switch will then slow the engine to the auto idle engine speed. Engine speed increase for the engine idle RPM dial setting with any control lever when any control lever is operated. 4 seconds of control lever to return with the neutral engine speed with reduced automatically auto idle. The engine will run auto idle speed with the engine start with more than 4 seconds of the turning key with the switch on. The auto idle switch is turned off. The engine speed is controlled by the engine RPM dial. The indicator beam will light when the auto idle is on. The turn auto idle switch off is set the engine RPM to the dial to the improved machine control of difficult work areas, loading and unloading. Alright, your mode switch. The selecting operating modes, pressing the mode selection switch A, each with the microcomputer automatically selects the combination of the engine speed, pump, and the flow rate with the working load. The big mode B is automatically selected when the engine is started. Using the following as a guide. Dig mode is B, designed for the general digging of the truck loading. Grade mode is rolling the slower grading of the finishing work. Precision mode D is for all work on the work requires precision front movement. And attachment mode E with using attachment other than buckets. Your power boost switch. The power boost switch A with the top of the right control lever for 8 seconds with a 6% increase for the hydraulic power. Releases the switch with the reset boost button function. Your economy mode. The E mode is improved with the fuel efficiency, reduced the noise level with a small difference for the engine speed. The E mode is effectively with the when the dig mode is selected the work mode as the work mode. Pushing down the E mode switch A, which switch will stay down. The E mode indicator will light. Pushing the E mode switch again, the switch will return to the original position to deactivate the E mode or economy mode. Your high power mode. When both the high power and the economy mode turns on during the digging power increase for the achieving low fuel consumption. In high power mode, the extra horsepower is needed for the rolling of the arm excavation work. The high power mode is effective with the digging mode selected with the working of the mode. The high power mode can also be used with the economy mode turned on. The high power mode will be activated and automatically increasing the engine speed when the high power mode switches and pushed down. The engine speed is set at 1600 RPMs or higher. Arm roll in is operated. Load heavier than specified amount is applied. Push down high power mode. Switch A. Switch stays with the down. The high power mode indicator will light. Push the high power mode again. Switch again. Switcher will return to original position. Deactivate the high power mode. Alright, standard mode. The engine standard mode with the no switches are pushed down and no indicator lights are on. Operating tips before starting walk the suit without uncovering the hazards for the plan of the job. Check the buried utility lines and pipe for the gas and oil pipelines. Keep site clean. Leave flexible machine stability. Reduce the upper fatigue. Increase productivity. Do not knock down stakes or grade markers. If you lose sight of your guides, you may have to rework the job. Driving machine. Use your seatbelt. Select the route that is as flat as possible. Steer the machine as straight as possible, marking the small gradual change in the direction. When driving over the rough terrain, reduce the speed to lessen the possibility of undercarriage damage, and reduce the speed when carrying over the heavy load, working on the congested area. When possible, obstacles, rough terrain, rocks, curbs, and ditches in general, decreasing speed, increasing control. When driving, carrying the bucket attachment low on the good visibility, machine stability to avoid the overhead of the obstacles. Visibility may also be improved in rotating upper structure slightly. Driving on slopes. Use your seatbelt caution to prevent possible injury from the machine rollover. To do not turn on the machine on slope. Do not turn your machine on slope. Driving down slope. Use your seatbelt lower the bucket near the ground of the shown for the angle bucket boom, but it also should be 90 degrees. Drive down the slope with the boom in the downhill end of the machine. The machine begins to slide or lower boom, placing the bucket up against the ground to slow the machine. Driving up a slope. Use your seatbelt position undercarriage so propeller motors will upper hill end of the machine. Keep the bucket on the uphill side approximately 12 inches above the ground. If the machine starts to slip, become unstable, lower the bucket immediately. Driving up a steep, slippery slope bottom of the on an uphill end of the machine. Caution: prevent possible injury of the machine. Roll over the technique only short slope. The machine depends on the support of the locomotive arm bucket during the entire procedure until the machine reaches the top of the slope. In any position of the bucket during the procedure is not recommended. Do not swing the upper structure during the procedure. Use your seatbelt position undercarriage so the propel motors will be uphill at the end of the machine. Push the bucket into the ground. Drive up the slope. Push the pole. Pull the machine out using the boom and arm cylinders to help propel the motors. Do not reposition the bucket during this procedure. Driving up a steep or slippery slope boom on downhill end of the machine. Caution: prevent possible injury with the machine with the rollover. The use technique only with the short. With the sleep of the machine depends on support of the boom arm bucket during the entire procedure until the machine reaches the top of the slope. Position the bucket during the procedure is not recommended. Do not swing the upper structure during the procedure. Use your seatbelt position undercarriage so the propeller motors will be uphill and into the machine. Push the bucket into the ground. Drive up the slope, push the machine up using the boom and arm cylinders to help propel the motor. Do not reposition the bucket during the procedure. Moving machine off embankment. To move the machine over the edge of the embankment, pushing the bucket and flat surface resting on the ground. Angle A of the boom is shown to be 9 degrees. Important: to prevent the machine damage. Do not allow the machine to impact ground with the bucket absorbing the force of the fall. As the machine forwards, raise the boom and retract the arm until the front tracks reach the lower ground level. Raise the bucket off the ground, rotate to upper structure 180 degrees. 4. Position the bucket and ground on the flat surface of the bucket resting on the ground. Angle A with the arm to the boom should be 90 degrees. Lower the boom slightly, propel the machine toward the lower lever arm and extend it. The track is clear. Embankment, raise boom lower undercarriage, low ground level, and to move the machine up embankment, reverse procedure. Alright, the leveling machine. Operating a firm level surface to optimize machine stability. Create a level surface counter rotate track 30 degrees each side. Using a bucket to add or remove the material level of the worksite. When adding material to the worksite, drive the other over new material to compact it until the worksite feels stable. Alright, using the quick disconnect hitch. The cylinder with the quick disconnect hitch is powered with a hydraulic oil with an excavator bucket for the cylinder with the diverter with a quick disconnect by the electric solenoid valve. The switch is located on the left side of the rear cab gas. The solenoid coil is energized only on the unlatched position. To attach the quick disconnect hitch, the attachment manually lift with the rotate safety lock on the pin lever of the top of the rear. The quickly disconnect hitch from the fully extended the bucket cylinder. 7. The quick disconnect hitch, switch A the unlatched position, extend the bucket cylinder again to the place over the relief, except for the rock drill attachment. This will activate the cylinder to the open position. A is the quick disconnect hitch switch. Operate the excavator to position quick disconnect hitch with the vertical position B, and this attachment must be level to resting of the ground. Alright, position the quick disconnect hitch to engage the hook on the attachment C. Rotate the quick disconnect hitch to C of the rear of the latch with the rear attachment pins D. Caution: do not remove the attachment without acceptable wedge engagement. The attachment can cause possible injury to people in the vicinity of the attachment. Move the latch switch to the latch position. Move the control in order to carefully curl the quick disconnect hitch to the attachment full extension bucket cylinder. This places the oil over the relief and divert the oil hydraulic latch cylinder in order to engage the wedge of the attachment. Note: keep the attachment close to the ground during the all latch and unlatch operations. Caution: wedge must be engaged in attachment. Important: safety lock with a pin safely device mechanical structure secure with the attachment event with a hydraulic system failure. The machine should not be operated without the safety lock pin in locked position E. The safety lock pin and lever is from the rear of the quick disconnect hitch. Carefully rotate the spring loaded with the safety lock pin and lever toward the excavator to the engaged lock pin. Quick disconnection attachment removal. The full extent of the arm of the curl of the bucket plate for the attachment into the ground. Manually lift the rotate the safely lock with the pin and lever the curl of the locked position. Install the unlocked position. Note: the alarm will sound when the switch is unlocked position. To unlatch the quick disconnect hitch from an attachment fully extended with the bucket cylinder. Move the quick disconnect hitch switch A to the operator's cab cab to an unlatched position, move the control extend with the bucket lever, bucket cylinder again to place the hydraulic over the relief except for the rock drill attachment. This will activate the latch cylinder to the open position. Alright, 4. Operate the excavator to rotate the quick disconnection hitch with the vertical position G. Remove the quick disconnection hitch from the hook on the front attachment H. Two-way hydraulic thumb foot pedal, model 230 LCR. The model 230 LCR machine is equipped with the third pedal with the A with the pedal control for the movement of the hydraulic thumb. To close the hydraulic thumb, push down on the top of the pedal B. To open the hydraulic thumb, push down on the bottom of the pedal C. A is the foot pedal, B is the top of the foot pedal, C is the bottom of the foot pedal. Alright, using a hydraulic thumb. The hydraulic thumb is designed to yield the following procedure: clamping and lifting medium-duty scrap, handling the demolition of the wood and brick construction, medium-duty lading, clearing and grubbing bulky loose material, logging. Do not use the hydraulic thumb for the following procedure: rigging up the concrete, asphalt, and quarry application, heavy scrap handling, heavy lading, clearing, heavy grubbling, breaking ledge rock. Clamping the bucket. When the store position, actuate the locate the hydraulic thumb near the object with the picked up with the claw, hold the bucket with the A with the point, with the beginning with the grasp with the fourth for the object picked up with the face with the hydraulic thumb. Thumb is capable of large clamping forces and could crush the object to prevent the bucket with the thumb of crushing the object with the feather. The bucket controlled to the point where the object can be picked up but not crushed. Alright, clamping the hydraulic thumb. Because of this method less precise, and it should not be. There's no concern when the crushing of the object will be clamped. Retract the hydraulic thumb store position B with the allow the perimeter operative visibility position of the bucket hand with the curling until the near the contact with the objective of being picked up to actuate the handling thumb and allow it to grasp the clamp. The method of the grasping is usually less precise. The object may be crushed. Lifting procedures. Always caution when lifting the transferring object with the hydraulic thumb in the bucket of the excavators can call the heavy objects in the air closely to the excavator. The heavy objects may be moved further away from the heavy machine. Remove the movement and arm and actuation. The possibility of making the machine unstable exists. The caution of lifting and moving the rotating heavy objects away from the excavator main body. Never lift clamped objects over the people. The possibility allows exit for the lifted objects caution drop. Release clamped object. Caution. Always look before you release the clamp load. Never release the clamp load while moving or turning. Objects clamped in the jaws should be released one of two ways: retracting the material clamp or retracting the bucket. Alright, using the bucket. Arm digging. For the most general excavating, leveling material, the digging trenches is beginning with the excavation, pushing the arm in the vertical position, and then moving it away from the machine extremely at 2 feet. The use of the mainly arm cylinder retract the arm, and then after the buckets on the curl of the bucket, then retracting the arm. The first cut should be approximately 4 feet long and 75 feet, 3 to 4 inches deep. Remaining cuts should be approximately 4 foot long and 4 to 6 inches deep. Alright, bucket digging. For power digging with the work with the small cramps excavation, use the joint bucket cylinder for the A digging. Below the bucket digging, they use the boom with the fourth for the bucket to the ground with the two functions at once: retraction of the arm of the curl of the bucket until the bracket is full. If the bucket stalls, the raise of the boom slightly, continue to the curl bucket. If the arm stalls, roll the bucket back. Roll back the bucket to the breakout. To avoid damaging the cylinders, do not strike the ground with a bucket or use the bucket for tamping. Cylinders is fully extended, but the bucket completely curled under. When bucket cylinder is fully extended, do not strike the ground with the bucket or use the bucket with the tamping. Do not use the bucket, the hammers with the pile drive. Do not use the attempt to shift the rocks with the breaking wall with using a slow swing motion. Do not side load the bucket, for example. Do not swing the bucket to level the material. Do not strike the object from the side with the bucket. Match the bucket with the bucket teeth attachment with the type of the material being handled. Lose the fragment material jumping quickly with the bracket. Break up the material after the entry of the bucket. Excavate the material in thin layers rather than jamming it in the bucket, and especially important with the sticky materials. If you clean the bucket, wrapping it against the stop of preventing the cylinder damage, they'll use the minimum amount of force. Clear the bucket with the hand of the wrapping bucket lightly does not work. Do not try to remove the material from the bucket by striking the bucket against the ground or other objects. To prevent cave-ins, work perpendicular to the angle of the excavation with the proper propel motor to the rear of the machine. Do not drive near the edge of the excavation or the trench. Do not dig under the machine. Planting spoil piles. To prevent cave-ins, place spoil piles at least 3 feet away from the excavation. The deeper the excavation, further the spoil piles should be placed. And with the excavation, place spoil piles convenient with the truck loading or backfilling. On slopes, place the spoil piles on the upper side of the slope and improve the machine's stability, easier backfilling. Alright, trenching. Before starting work, walk over the site, uncover the hazard of the plan to do the job. Check with the area, the utility lines, pipe, the gas, and the oil lines to prevent the cave-ins. Dig a V-shaped trench. Place the spoils at least 1 meter or 3 feet away from the trench, and then deeper in the trench, further where the spoil piles should be placed. If you have to clean up the cave-in contact or reach in for the machine present, do not back over the trench. Drive the machine beside the track trench to cave-in. Park the machine at a 90-degree angle at the trench. With the propel motors rear of the machine, clean the cave-in from the side of the trench. When trenching a slope, level the machine so that the bottom of the trench will be level with the level of the machine, counteracting tracks when digging the shelf. Place a spoil pile on the upper side of the trench. The machine is more stable. The backfilling is easier. For straight line trenching, drive 2 stakes at the beginning of the 10 trench. Drive the first stake and then immediately behind the starting point, and the second stake approximately 30 feet behind the first A. Using the stake with a sight gauge, these are especially helpful. The machine is moved often. Alright, backfilling. When backfilling, position the machine at 90-degree angle with the excavation with the proper motive at the rear of the machine to prevent machine damage. Do not use the side of the backfill. Do not use this bucket to backfill. The bucket side can be used for finishing grade. Extra material can be backfilled around foundations allowed for setting. Alright, truck loading. Lever loading with the eddy during the weight of the time between the two. Maximize machine stability, decreasing operator fatigue, and increase the productivity. No location of all the person working area, including the truck driver. Do not load the truck unless the truck driver is in the same position. If possible, park the truck where the wind will be behind the operator, but to keep the dust from the dump load out of the operator's eyes, out of the engaging with the area clearing. Raise the bucket with the swinging toward the truck. Drop the first load into the truck. The minimum height with the lessen the stress of the truck. First material of the back box cushions following the load. Dump the load into the truck in steady piece rather than abruptly to minimize stress on the truck. Load truck's box for the center front of the center rear. If loading a large rock, first place a load of small rock into the truck cushion impacts the large rock in the truck. Move the bucket excavation level to swing away from the truck. Do not swing the bucket over the cab. I'm sick. Alright, operating water and mud. Be careful not to operate the machine water with the mud above the upper deck of the surface of the undercarriage causes the swing bearing with the rotary manifold to be submerged. If the swing of the bearing of the rotary manifold submerged, remove the cover underneath the center of the machine, remove the drain plug, drain the water in the mud. Clear swing gear area, install the plug cover, lubricate the swing gear with the swinging bearing, see the maintenance every 500 hours. Alright, clear track frame area. Swing the upper structure 90 degrees. Caution, prevent the possible injury with the machine sliding backwards. Keep the angle between the boom and the arm 90 to 110 degrees angle. Lower the bucket, rotate round the side down. Raise the track off the ground. Keep the angle between the boom and the arm at the 90 to 110 degrees. Run the track back and move the forth and remove the dirt and move the track. Run the track back and forth, remove the dirt, mud and dirt. Turn off the engine. Caution, prevent possible injuries, unexpected machine movement. Place blocks under the machine frame, support the machine while the cleaning of the track, airframe area of the track is stationary. Place blocks under the machine frame and further cleaning of the tractor frame to provide with the track and stationary. Clean the track off during cold weather to prevent damage of the track components. Alright, lifting. Caution, prevent possible injury, never more than a load. Suddenly, never move a load over the person's head. Do not allow the person near the load. Keep all the persons away from the raised load until the blocks are supported on load and is set on the ground. Check the chart of the right window. Check the lifting capacity, specification of the manual before lifting the machine. Position the substructure so the tracks gets at the rear. Do not attach the sling chain to the bucket teeth or do not lift the damaged wrong sling or chain over the bucket. Secure the sling and the chain tightly to the load being lifted. Without bucket loop, fasten your chain sling to pivot pin on the machine, bucket curled and arm retracted. With the bucket loop fastened to the sling chain with the bucket loop A with the bucket curled and arm retracted. Coordinate the hand signals with your signal man before the noting of the location of the person with the working area attached with the hand line to the load. Make sure the person holding it away from the load. Before starting the job, test your load. Park your machine close to the load. Attach the load to the machine. Raise the load about 2 inches above the ground. Swing the load all the way into one side while keeping the load closely to the ground, moving away from the machine. If there's any indication reducing the stability of the machine, lower the load to the ground. Lift the load only as high as necessary. With the bucket loop A. Alright, your air compressor operating instruction control panel. Engine air filter, discharge air pressure, power meter. Compressor air filter, high compressor temperature, low air pressure, low engine oil pressure, high engine temperature, low coolant level. Lamps test switch the engine off, the turn power with the switch to the off, and then to the on. All lamps should be light. You have your PL1, PL2 switch, SW switch 1 and 1 start and either injection. Diagnostic auto shutdown. High compressor for the 248 degrees Fahrenheit more, low engine pressure for the 12 psi or less, high engine temperature for the coolant below above 220 degrees Fahrenheit, low coolant must be added, low coolant level must add coolant. Air filter surface indicator indicated for the air filter elements needed to be replaced. Heater switch with the flip on the cold weather to activate the control system. Heater indicator indicates the heaters are on when low lighted. Compressor discharge pressure gauge for the indicate pressure for the receiver to tank with the PSI. Hour meter records the running of the time of the maintenance. Control of the panel light PL1 will illuminate it indicates the power is on. When illuminated indicates power is off. Indicates when not illuminated indicates power is off. Panel light 2 when illuminated along with PL1 indicates the is ready to start. When not illuminated with the PL1 is indicating the compressor is operating at full pressure. Toggle switch S1 flip on to activate the system prior to the starting. Flip off to stop the engine. Toggle switch SW2. Flip on to activate the system before starting. Flip off to after warm-up to provide full air pressure. 14 start button. Push the start button. 15 either injection button. Push the injected meter count with either to help the start engine with the colder weather using the sparingly. Note that 6, 7, and 10 and 15, 10 through 15 are used remote and mounted in the excavator cab. Are your speed, pressure regulating, and adjusting instructions? Normally, reduction requires no adjusting button with the proper adjustment loss proceed of the valve. Refer to the general data of the machine rating with the speed pressure before starting on the unit. The top of the separator take over with the pressure valve to loosen the tank, loosen the lock nut clockwise for the turn. Adjust with the screw lock nut clockwise unit until no tension is felt with the screw. The turn of the screw clockwise one full revolution. Allow starting unit allow the unit to warm up the control panel with the push the surface air button between if equipped. Open adjusting surface valve on the outside of the unit to obtain the read operation pressure on the discharge pressure gauge. If your rated operating pressure cannot be maintained with the engine at full load speed with the rod with the A with the air cylinder B with the fully retracted return regulator, adjustment screw clockwise until the throttle air C moves against the full speed governor stop D. Ensure the pressure is maintained with the rated pressure for the turn regulator, adjusting screw counterclockwise until the throttle arm C begins with the move zone. Turning the regulator, adjusting the screw clockwise, raise pressure to the full speed, closing the surface valve, engaging with a slow and idle speed, loosen the jam nut E on the rod A, rotate the rod A to adjusting speed to obtain the RPM. If necessary, repeat the step 3 through 4, add pressure regulator, tighten the lock nut, limit the full load engine speed, loosening the jam nut F and G, rotating the rod H with the proper speed with the reach of the tighten jamming nuts. To obtain the cubic foot per minute and any pressure with the 80 psi of the rating with the operating with the pressure with the turning adjusting screw with the pressure regulating with the same desired discharge pressure at full load engine speed and allowing lock pressure to setting with the adjusting screw. Alright, before starting caution, do not connect with any discharge into the commonly headed with any of the other unit with any of the description, any other source for the compressor air without the first marking of the making sure the check valve is used between the header of the unit with the unit is connected with the parallel and other unit with a higher discharge pressure for the capacity of the safety hazard could occur in a backflow condition. Warning, unrestricted airflow with a hose with the result with the whipping motion of the hose which can cause the severe injury and death of the safety device must be attached to the hose and source supply with the reduced pressure. In case of the hose pressure, other sudden pressure reference to the OSHA regulation 29 Title 29 CFR Section 1926.302B. Okay, open the manual blow-down valve to ensure the pressure is relieved with the receiver of the separator system. Close the valve in order to build up the full air pressure to ensure the proper oil circulation. Check the battery for proper conditions, connection with the condition. Check the pressure, lubricating oil with the proper oil level with the runway with the sight glass. Adding oil level falls below the sight gas and do not overflow. Check the engine lubricating oil level and oil if low on the dipstick. Warning, do not move the cap of the hot engine radiator. The sudden relief of the pressure for the heated or cooling oil can cause service injury or death. Caution, the use of the water alone engine can result with a major engine failure. Overall, reserve the plastic bottle. Check with the coolant level necessary for the tack off the cold marking. Roof access door with the retaining pins on each valve. After stripping the cooling system, the pins must be replaced for the proper operation. Check the fuel level. Add a cleaning diesel fuel with the maximum surface from the engine. Note that to minimize condensation of water in the fuel tank, fill the tank to the end of at the end of each day. Warning, the machine procedure allowed to open the doors open, extend the pressure to low noise can cause the hearing loss when hearing protection when doors of the valves are open and close the side doors with the maintained cooling path to avoid the recirculation of hot air. This will maximize the life of the engine compressor with the intake, protect hearing surrounding personnel. May be sure no one is in or on the compressor unit. Alright, starting. Warning, do not operate the machine with the guards removed. Caution, do not operate machine with safety shutdown switches bypass. When attempting to start and stop the unit from the remote location, the operator should first use the caution to ensure know what is perform the maintenance inspection of the machine. Low ambient temperature and operation. The 220 volt DC heater is provided with the critical control system with the location to prevent the ice of the formation of the compressor capacity for the control system. The one heater is attached with the surface of the pressure of the control valve. The other heater is attached with the connection with the compressor with the underload valve of the heater to turn on and off using the toggle switch located on either local remote compressed panels. Below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, drive the heater prior to starting with the compressor drive engine with the heaters operating continuously during the compressor operation. Below 25 degrees Fahrenheit, energize the heater and wait about 60 seconds prior to the start of the excavator drive engine. Allow the heaters to operate continuously during compressor operation. Caution. Either is extremely volatile, highly flammable gas used sparingly to do much for the injection, but the uncontrolled explosion may result with the costly and the damage to the engine. As in SW1 and SW2, until the both panels are illuminated, all diagnostic lamps will be let glow for 2 seconds and then allow the lamps to go off, except for the alternator does not charge with the low engine oil pressure. In cold weather, open the manual blow-down valve and then press with the either inject button once or when released, while the cranking pressing the release for the between button once every 5 seconds. The injection measured amount with either the engine press the start crank with press the start button to crank the engine. Do not operate with the start motor for more than 10 seconds without allowing at least 1 minute cooling time between startup attempts. Release the start button between the engine starts and sustaining running if the engine does not start. The couple of attempts refer to the troubleshooting section. All diagnostic logs should be off and not stop the machine investigating open and close with the manual blowdown valve. All unit warm up for at least 2 minutes. Flip the SW2 switch for the opposition position with the PL2 or panel light will go out. With the engine should be go full. The speed with the discharge pressure for the knee rise slightly over the rated pressure. The compressor will unload the intake of the throttle with the close for the engine speed will drop at the out of speed. Compress the engine now readily with the furnace the air with the servicing valve is open. Stopping. Closing the air surface valve will allow the unit to run no load for 3 to 5 minutes to reduce the engine speed and temperatures. The unit may be stopped with either local, the panel, with the air compressor for the operating start and stop panel with if so equipped. Flood the bottle with the toggle switches SW1 and SW2 for the opposite position until the panel lights PL1 and PL2 go out. Power is now off. Once the engine is in automatic blowdown valve that will begin to relieve all the pressure from the receive separator system. Caution, never allow the unit to sit to stop with pressure in the receiver separator system as the precaution for the automatic blowdown period of 2 minutes to open the manual blowdown valve. Our equipment protection note: do not wire around or bypass shutdown sensor switches. The unit is protected by the sensor switches at the following location: high engine coolant temperature of the engine, low engine oil pressure of the engine, and low fuel level. High discharge air temperature of the air end outlet of the safety valve connection of the separator tank. Your automatic shutdown diagnostic should also follow these problems. The situation occur until the automatic shutdown the stop before the restarting of the unit with the flipping of the power of the switch to off. Check the diagnostic area with the instrument panel on the upper floor with the lamps. Electronically local lamps only respond to the first and primary signal switch signal for shutdown. And otherwise, if the automatic shutdown is a result of one of these 4 problems, one of the particular problems, a lamp will be lit. After, the lamp will remain as long as the batteries provide power. For operation control instrument, the various problem signal criteria of Fahrenheit, PSI, and etc. will indicate the problems should be inspected with the physical cause, low fluid, broken fan belt, evidence of excessive heat, etc. and corrections made. Shutdowns will automatically reset when the problem condition is corrected. Other possible causes of the uninspected shutdowns are listed in the troubleshooting chart. Using the quick coupler type of attachment, the general operating tip is to avoid the damaging of the machine with the cylinder. Do not strike the ground with the attachment operating with the cylinder fully extended with the retracted. Do not operate the attachment with the hydraulic cylinder rod with the full extent with the fully retracted. Do not strike the ground of the other subject with the attachment. Keeping the hydraulic system clean and prevent the damage of the hydraulic component of keeping the containment from the hydraulic system. Using a red solution for the connection for the connecting and the disconnecting hydraulic lines and attachment. When attaching and detaching the attachment, the hydraulic lines are open. The containment can enter the hydraulic lifting system at the time that causes the machine damage. If the attachment and the change frequently are more opportune to contaminate the edge of the hydraulic system to keep the hydraulic contamination to a minimum. Clean the connections before disconnecting the hydraulic lines. Install the caps and plugs the hydraulic lines as soon as possible. Close and change the hydraulic return filler of the half of the normal interval of 250 hours. Sample the hydraulic oil every 500 hours. Oil Scan Plus periodic maintenance chapter. Follow the Oil Scan Plus recommendation for the oil charge intervals before never changing the oil less rather frequently than recommended by the machine. Our rock drill attachment model 230 LCRD. Rock drill operation subject to the machine hydraulic system. Possible contamination, accelerated deterioration. Hydraulic return filler of hydraulic oil must be replaced and must be off to prevent damage of the hydraulic pumps. Other hydraulic components change in the hydraulic return filter. Oil and intervals recommendation below based on the amount of the machine operating time and attachment used. Percent of operating time of the drill used 100 hydraulic return lines intervals 100 hydraulic oil intervals 600. With the operating time for the rock drill is 60 hydraulic return filter is 150 and 800 for the oil change. For hydraulic operating time rock drill used for 40 is 200 return filter change intervals and 1,000 oil change intervals. Percentage for the operating time of the rock drill 20, 300 change for the hydraulic return and 1,300 for the oil change. Installing the rock drill. Ensure the rock drill is level with the legs or rest on the ground. Ensure secure use of the quick disconnecting hatch in the chapter for the additional information performing steps 2 through 7. Manually place the high hitch safety lock pin in unlock position for extended bucket cylinder safety. Set quick disconnect switch in unlock position. Operating excavator with the position of the hitch, vertical position with the high engaged front hook with the rock drill adapter. Rotate the hitch downward to the seat the hinge and engage the wedge with the rock drill adapter. Caution: do not raise the rock drill without acceptable wedge engagement. The rock drill can fall, possibly injuring to people in the vicinity of the rock drill. Set the quick disconnect switch with the cab in the locked position. Last position, rotate the hinge downward a small amount to engage the wedge bar. Check the wedge rate engagement. Manually engage the hinge switch safety lock pin. Set the using quick coupler attachment chapter for the general operation tip for the information. Keeping the hydraulic system clean with the connection attachments. Remove the cap from the quick disconnecting fitting of the high pressure hose on the left side of the excavator arm and plug the quick disconnecting fitting on the low pressure on the right side of the excavator. Alright, connect the pressure hydraulic hose with the greater hose with the electronic cable to the rock drill with the corresponding hose with the electronic connector for the left side of the excavator arm. Connect the low pressure hydraulic hose with the wet hose and air hose with the corresponding hose on the right side of the excavator arm. High pressure hose, high power hose with grease and electrical cable on the left side. Low pressure vent and air hose on the right side. Hitch adapter. Alright, moving the rock drill. Operate the excavator with the position of the rock drill with the legs on the level ground. Clean the disconnect with the 3 hydraulic hoses, 1 air with the hose, 1 grease hose, and 1 electrical cable from the left side to the right side of the excavator arm. The cap, the plug, with the fitting of the preventing of the contamination of the hydraulic air and the grease system, the clip of the covered electronic connector C, using the quick coupler type of attachments in this chapter. Installing plug and quick disconnecting fittings on the excavator arm C. The quick disconnect attachment removal in this chapter. Additional information when performing steps 4 through 7. Alright, manually place the lock and lock the position and unlock position self. Quick disconnect the switch and cap to unlock the position. Extend the bucket cylinder slowly, but do not extend the bucket cylinder to fire cause the rock drill to move. This will activate the wedge bar to open the position. 7. When the last part is retract, the hitch can be rotated upward and away from the rock drill A, but the excavator arm can be moved toward the excavator B to completely disengage the hitch from the hooks on the rock drill adapter. Alright, operating your rock drill attachment remote control operator's panel. Alright, A is your guide swing control, B is the feed control, C is the drifter control, D is the drilling hour meter, E is the hydraulic centralizer control, F is the air flushing switch, G is the dust hood control, H is the thread loosening button precaution. H is the high power dust collector sector. selector. J is the emergency stop button, and K is the K is the rod changer control. Guiding your guide swing. The control allows the operator with the CPA swing with the swing lever to the left of moving the CPA foot with the piece to the left. The lever over the right to move the CPA foot with the piece of the right. Feed control. The four-way lever with the push button on the top. B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. B1, pull the lever, operate with the feed forward. The lever is blocked in position in its normal position when drilling. B2, lever the operator, reverse the feed, but the lever must be held in position. B3, swing the lever in direction to operate the fast feed forward. The lever must be held in position. B4, swing the lever in the direction to operate the fast reverse feed, but the lever must be fed in the operation. Held in the position. B5, press the button between the levers pulled to the B1 position to operate with the reduced feed with the collaring. Remote control operator's manual. Drifter control. There is a four-way lever with the C1, C2, C3, C4. Pull the lever to operate the normal rotation only. C2, press the lever to operate the reverse rotation. Note these two functions never used with the thread coupling or uncoupling. C3, when swinging the lever in direction to drill with the automatic control, the normal level of the position with the drilling the lever is in position. C4, the lever in the position of the drill on the manual. Specific position drilling automatics are inoperative with the lever position. Exceptionally, you to get the full reverse precaution. The drifter is so equipped to force the drilling when encountering faults or over the riding of the anti-jamming. In such a case, using rod jamming is risky. Carefully reduce the fall at fast speed and the speed switching the feed control of the collaring position. Drifting hour meter. The drifting hour meter indicates the total operating over the drifter should be used with determining its surface maintenance if the hydraulic centralized core control. Pull the lever to open the centralizer. Move the position. Pull the lever to close the centralizer. Or air flushing. Pull the lever to operate the air flushing dust hood control. Pull the lever to slide the dust hood down. Put dust hood control. Push the lever to the side of the dust hole open. Or your throttle loosening button. C2 and the button. To press the button to operate a different precaution, be successful implement the drifter control in C2 direction, operating the reverse direction to break loose the threaded joints. Your high pressure dust collector switch, the three position switch. J1, J0, J1, J2. J0 is down with the high pressure flow is diverted to the tank. Middle high pressure build up and allow movement. The movement's auxiliary. J1, J2 up the dust collector is activated. Emergency stop button. Press the button. Switch down with the engine K for the emergency only. The emergency stop selector must be placed on the CPA position for further safety. The rod changer. The rod changer is a semi-automatic device which allows the storage of 6 by 12 foot extension rods in the carousel with a handling of the rod to and from the drill of the guide. The automatic operation of the rod uncoupling, synchronized drift, and rotating the displacement of the operated by a single lever with the manual extension drive with the U of the upper rod implement. The hazardous sleep loosening, which might occur during the drifting and shank uncoupling. The thread lubrication is also controlled from the operator station. Alright, the control panel shows the KLS switches and S0, S1, S2. Okay, rod changer control lever. The safety trigger is located on the back of the lever press to allow any operation. Indicator light. Indicator light is a light with the carousel is well positioned and adding the remove the rod. S mode selector. S0 is the manual mode. S1 is the automatic with the rod adding. S2 is the automatic with the rod removing. The automatic mode is selecting the different movement of the rod clamp on those with the carousel are controlled automatically. This makes the different operation the easiest and reduce the cycle to the time of the functions. Alright, you have your M1, M2, M3, M4, and M5, and K1, 2, 3, and 4. Or K1, 2, 3, and 4. It also shows the M5 and the M2. Depress the indicated push button to operate. The rod clamps closing the upper level of the B2 carousel rotation manual mode only. M3 rod and drifter shank threaded location. M4 rod clamps under upper and lower. M5 carousel rotation manual mode. M1 plus M4 lower rod closing, lower rod clamping closing, upper rod clamping opening a manual mode only. Move the rod changer connector lever indicating the direction to operate. K1 rod clamp arms swing towards the guide. K2 rod coupling. K3 rod clamp arms swinging to the carousel. K4 rod uncoupling. Loading carousel manual mode S0. Loading the carousel rod necessitating the pressing 1 and 2 assistant depending on the rod's weight. Make sure that the handle signal the perfectly understand. CBA should be lowered with the rest of the position over the rod. Placing the high power dust collector with the switching in on position in J1 middle. Select the manual mode with the mode selector in the S0 position. Check the indicator L light and is a light. If not, press the M2 and M5 or M5 button to rotate the carousel. Release the button with the indicator light is L is a light. Swing the rod clamp arms over the guide with the rod change left with the K1 direction. Open the rod clamp and press the M4 button. Mount a coupling with the rod to be loaded with the place the rod in the rod clamps. Go with the rod clamps to the rod depressor with the M1 button. Swing the rod clamps around the carousel rod change from the lever in K3 position. Open the rod clamps to press the M4 button. Depress the M5 button to rotate the carousel. Release the button when the indicator light is a light, or L is a light. Perform steps 4 through 10 until the carousel is loaded with the 4 extension rods. Do not perform the steps 9 through 10 after loading the last extension rod. Make sure the centralizer is open with the switch E. Raise the dust hood switch G. Place the switch rod with the coupling into the centralizer. Close the centralizer onto the coupling switch E. Feed the drifter down to the centralized end with the drill guide. The feed lever B in the B3 direction. Screw the drifter shank into the coupling rod change into the K2 direction. Open the centralizer, switch E with the feed with the drift back of the feed level of the B2 direction until the coupling with the boom. With the centralizer closed with the centralizing switch E. Feed the drifter back, feed level of the B4 direction until the rod threads are below the dust hood. Screw on the bit onto the rods to retract the drifter so that the bit enters the inside the dust hood, feed lever B2 direction. Alright, adding a road, automated S1. Make a carousel and properly position i.e. and rod housing in front of the opening of the rod track catch with the indicator light, which is a light. Indicator light, L is a light. The rod clamp arms are swung into the rod with the change of the rod clamps are closed onto the rod. The mode selector is on the S1 position. When the drilling of the first rod is complete with the close of the centralized with the coupling switch E. Break loose the drifter shank and press the thread loosening button H to pull the back of the drifter control level with the C2 direction. Reverse the rotation. The rotation of the shank must be visible when locating at the connection. Airflow through the connection to stop the air flushing switch F. Unscrew the drift shank from the coupling of the lever to the K4 position. After the drift shank has been disconnected with the coupling, you press the M3 button to lubrication of the shank threads. Raise the drifter to the top of the drill guide with the feed lever with the B4 direction. Switch the next extension rod towards the drill guide. Rod is changed from the lever with the K1 direction. Hold the position for 1 second. Depress the M3 button and lubricate with the rod thread. Screw the draft shank into the top coupling for rod chain level of the K2 direction. Depress the M4 button while keeping the lever in the K2 direction. Screw the rod into the bottom of the coupling, screwing the rod changer into the level 3 K3 direction. Hold the position 1 with the rod clamps. Open the rod clamp arm, swing it into the carousel. Open the hydraulic centralization switch E and start the air flushing switch F with the drifting of the lever of the C3 position. Number of cycles that will end with automatically the carousel rotates to bring the following rod into the rod clamps. The rod clamps close onto the rod. Alright, moving around auto mode to S2. Make sure that the carousel is properly positioned with the rod housing the front of the opening of the front of the rod transfer with the indicator with the L to the light with the rod clamp along with the swung and the rod change with the rod are closed. The rod clamps are closed with the mode selectors in the S2 position with the drilling and end of the last row of the end of the drifter has not reached with the front end of the position. Start with the brake and loop with the drifter shake with the depressing the thread, loosening button H to pull back on the drifter control up with the C2 direction with the reverse rotation. Stop drilling, feed the drifter back with the feed level with the B4 direction until the bottom coupling and the centralization close the centralization on the clamping on the coupling switch E. The brake loosen the rod, depressing the thread with the loosening button with the H to pull back on the drifter control lever with the C2 direction, reverse direction. The rotation of the rod must be visible when looking at the connection of the airflow with the connection. Stop the air flushing switch F. Swing the rod channel with the lever to K1 direction. Hold the position for the 1 second. The rod clamps. Open the carousel. Rotate the rod clamps arm. Swing it toward the guide with the clamps closing it onto the rod. Tighten the upper coupling on the rod into the rod changer level in the K2 direction. Uphold the position for a few seconds. Unscrew the rod with the bottom coupling with the rod changer level in K4 direction. Now, during the sequence of the drifter, shaking the upper coupling uncoupled to return to the point 5. After the rod has been disconnected from the bottom coupling at a high enough to enter the carousel, close the clamps onto the rod with the drifter shaking. Unscrew the top of the coupling. Depress the M1 button while the changer level of the K4 direction after the drifter shank has been disconnected with the top of the coupling, swinging the rod into the carousel, changing level in the K3 direction. Note that if the rod abuts against the rod holder of the plate with the swing of the rod toward the guide with the change with the lever of the K1 direction, screw the drifter shank into the coupling, changing the lever of the K2 direction, depress the M4 button to open the clamps for the keeping the M4 button, depress, adjust the position of the rod, acting with the feed control lever, the swing of the rod into the carousel, changing the lever of the K3 direction. 9. Feed the drifter down with the centralizer end of the drill guide with the feeder level of the B3 direction. Screw the drifter shank into the coupling rod changer level of the K2 direction. Perform steps 2 through 10 to remove the bore rod. Start up. Make a walk around inspection before the mounting with the machine. Start the engine. Look around under the machine. They loosen the bolts. Loosen bolts, broken, worn parts, everything the machine prepared before starting. Check the engine oil and cool hydraulic compressor oil up with the refill if necessary. Check the emergency stop selector placed on the CPA position. Check all the electrical circuits and remote control are properly connected. Test the elevator switch is in the lock position. Check the compressor is off. Start the engine warm with carried manufacturer handbook. Start the engine RPM mode. Set the guide in the two-hole drilling position. Inspect the guide chains and wire rope number for the maintenance section for the further more information. Alright, traveling. Excavator safety switch is a switch to unlock the boom up in the CPA vertical 1.5 meter from the ground. Base for the CPA close but clear of the tracks. Travel at a speed suitable for the ground condition. Be careful of tramming over the rough terrains and prevent the tipping of the anti-harassers. Continuous conditions. Never use the CPA to assist with slowing. This is yes, this is no, this is no, this is no. Traveling hold to hold. The turn CPS compressor for the be sure the side of the rod clearance for the battery and batters and the machinery. Lift the base for the clear of the ground. Screw the travel slowly. Do not extend the dipper full length to reach the hole. Traveling hold to hold. Yes, no, and no. Drilling position for the drilling. Do not overreach or position base of the mass over the top of the hole. Place the mass base on the ground slowly. Do not jack the machine off the ground. Do not reposition the boom or mass while it's resting on the ground. Starting up drilling. Check the RPM drill setting of the start of the compressor close. The centralizer dust hood up. Start drilling. Flush the air to collar position dust collector on. Rotate the rotation only feed bit to just above the ground. Move the driller lever to auto position. Depress the position button. Flick the feeder level to forward and stop the several times and tip the bit travels without deflection. If not, start a new hole with it. Started holding that lever forward button, depressing compatible coloring to required depth. Use the water if required, but dust collectors must be off if the machine is so equipped. Move feet up down the collar with the air off to solidify the wall or the hole. Alright, straight slow start. Okay, start again slowly. Dust collector on, dust hood down, dusting, drilling. Dust collector on, dust hood down, flushing air on, feed down with a hammering until reaching end of the collar solid ground. Move the drill lever and auto starting drilling. With sampling and completing the hole, turn the dust collector to and off and the purge lifters, filters, and machine is so equipped. Setting of the bit rotation. The bit rotation speed cannot be adjusted directly from the operator's control panel. Modify the bit rotation if necessary to act on the rotation flow regulator. Alright, this shows the drifter rotation setting. Water pockets. Water pockets. As soon as the operator observed the water going into this dust collector, shut it down. Shutdown was immediately operated to ensure that no water has entered the dust collector drilling and then may be resumed until the dust smoke is observed come from the hole. The dust collector can be started again if the water has entered the dust collector. In case of the doubt, to stop the drilling and retract the drifter. If do not stay in the water pocket, wait 5 to 10 minutes with the dust collector running and the air flushing to the as to dry the filter cartridge. They do 10 cycles of the stopping the flushing, starting with the dust collector, but again cleaning the drying of the mud from the filter cartridge. Restart drilling with the dust collector shut off as long as no dust smoke is coming from the hole. But inside the hood and plastic hose has to be removed manually. Rod chaining, referred to changing a rod, shut down, switch off the drill and compressor, move the carriage to the park site, position the CBA vertical mass base on the ground, position the excavator safety with a switch to lock, idle down the engine to manufacturer specifications. Alright, lowering the boom when the engine stops. When the engine stops during the operation of the boom, cannot be lowered using the pilot-controlled because there is no pilot pressure for the oil to move the boom valve spool or to unlatch the boom lowering valves. Cause to prevent possible injury for the unexpected movement of machine movement to clear all the persons from the area before lowering the boom when the engine stopped. Avoid injury with the escaping the fluid under the pressure. Stop engine relieving the pressure in the system before disconnecting. Connecting hydraulics or other lines. Tighten all the connections before applying pressure. Loosen the jam nut of the relief valve A and back off the relief valve set screw, cutting the number of the turns until the boom starts to lower slowly. After the bucket is grounded, reset the relief valve A by turning the set screw clockwise the same number of turns and noted on set 1 and lock in the lock jam nut. Alright, A shows the relief valve, B shows the boom cylinder. Using hydraulic hand tools hose to keep the hydraulic safety system clean. They are important to prevent the damage to the hydraulic component from keeping the contamination entering the hydraulic system. Connect the tools corresponding with the hose end A and B. Alright, male hose end, female hose end. Using a hydraulic hand tool flow rate valve switch. Once the tool is connected with the hose end, turn on the switch B and set the flow rate valve A to the flow rate required to operate the tool. Using hand air held tools, make sure the air tool off outlet shut off levers in the out position before attempting to remove the outlet cover from the disconnecting hand tools. Remove the air outlet cover, connect the air tool hose to the outlet, move the outlet shut off lever to be until on. Alright, Chapter 8, Transporting.